Hey guys, welcome back. I wanted to do another video for you guys. This time I wanted to do something different. I've got an idea of doing a freestyle energy read type thing. So I'm going to pull a card or two and I'm going to read the energy and break down that energy in many different forms, which is most likely going to take me on a whole Gemini Mercury tangent because that's my Mercury. And Geminis love to be talking about all types of shit. This is probably why people interpret Gemini as shit talkers in general, because they just be talking, talking, talking. So I want to let my Gemini Mercury run rampant, and I did forget to do my little intro thing. But Mystar here to help you become a Mystar of your reality on a day-to-day basis. Even though I don't post every day, so I can't actually say that. Maybe I should change that. But oh Gucci. Anyways, we're gonna pull a card. And I'm just going to read that energy and see how we flow, see how we go. The reason why I even wanted to do this, because I got so many freaking concepts and ideas of videos to make in my head. And sometimes I'm like, I just want to do them all in one go. So I think this is a creative way to do so. Two cards fell out. We have the Moon in reverse. I don't know if you guys can even see. The Moon in reverse and the Three of Pentacles in the upright position. So with the Moon in reverse, this is like, obviously the moon is related to your internal realm. The moon energy in general is always related to your emotions, how you feel, like those kind of stuff, your intuition, your feminine side. So this is all like tied to the moon energy, the feminine energy, the feminine space. And then the Three of Pentacles talks about your mental or your physical environment. And because it's pentacles, it's usually to do with the situation, a person, or a place, or a thing. So it's something to do with the material realm when it comes to these two energies. So it's talking about that moon, that feminine aspect of energy. And when it comes to the Three of Pentacles together with that, it's like the feminine nature within the material realm, the feminine aspect within the material realm. So it's not so much like the hidden part of the moon, it's more of like an external masculine part of the moon in a way, if we're looking at it from that perspective as well. So the moon and the feminine energy in general is tied to like receiving containers, holding, like those kind of energies, containing something like a vessel or a womb, nurturing kind of energy. Because when you hold when you're within something, it's able to nurture you, or you're able to nurture it as well. But most likely it's nurturing you. Like if you're in a house, you're being nurtured by the shelter of the house, and so on and so forth. So these are examples of the moon kind of energy. And then because it's in reverse, I want to bring this up too. It's also talking about, like, could be secretive kind of energy too. Like those things can be tied to the moon because it's like within something, like a secret is held within something. So these are all like ways of explaining like a feminine kind of energy, depending on which area you're looking at. Because you can talk about like your emotions, that's within you, right? Then you have like a house, you're within that. And then also the world, like everything is within the world. So these are all tied to the feminine. And then when it comes to the Three of Pentacles, this is also tied to the world too. It's like when you're talking about three in numerology, three represents like the environment, the space in a way, but like not the space as in like the empty space. It's more like an environment that's like physical. It's an environment that has things within it, right? It's an environment of one and two accumulated together to have an atmosphere or a space around it, because in order for one and two to interact, it needs to be within something, within a womb, within moon. And this is why also womb and moon have the same kind of what is it, tone, or I don't know the word to use, but they sound similar. Womb, moon. So oo itself is tied to like the feminine energies. And when we're talking about like the actual, how do I say, what kind of energies you're actually partaking in when you even do those things, you know? So when you're saying ooh in itself, you're creating like a circle with your mouth. Ooh. So this is like you kind of creating a circle, which is also tied to the feminine energy as well. And then even the letter as well, if you were to write that down, a lot of people would write it as like like ooh, or something, or even you. But that's similar. It's the same or similar kind of energy. It's tied to the curve, which is tied to the feminine energy, which is also another part of why women are curvy, but that's a whole nother video. Basically, everything ties in from the spiritual to the physical because it all bends from the mental, from the spiritual into the physical. So this is why these things even correlate. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, how does this? Why is there so many synchronicities?" Because that is the nature of reality. It's everything comes and bends in from the feminine or the internal to the external. So that's also this kind of energy here as well with these two cards. So when it comes to the way you feel, this can manifest very, very quickly because it's more tied to the internal and it's like more in its natural state in a way. So yeah, when it comes to those energies, that's how you can really overstand, not understand. You can overstand the feminine energy in itself just by like paying attention to wombs or containers, things that contain or hold things. Like even water holds memory. Water holds memory. So if you people say if you speak into water, it's able to hold the memory of whatever energy you just spoke into it. And really the words don't matter. It's about the vibration that you put into it. Because that itself is able to hold and contain itself within the body of water, the body that is, you know, the body that you're speaking it into or emanating it into as a space, as a container. And that's also tied to the feminine too. But like these are all their thing, these are all like kind of things on their own, but they also carry qualities and traits of each other too, you know? So it's not to say that the world itself is feminine, you know, everything has qualities of masculine and feminine within it. So even the world, yeah, it's you're inside of the world, so that makes it a feminine in a totality of some shape or form. But then if you're looking out into the world, you're looking externally and you're looking at physical things within the world. So those are masculine traits, masculine expressions, masculine qualities in it within the feminine. So that's how everything has masculine and feminine in it, which is also why we have male and female, you know, because spiritually we're like really androgynous. We're really androgynous. We don't have one or the other as more or less. It's just a perfect blend of both. But to express ourselves in the physical, and because the physical is separate by nature, because it's like when things begin to die and they start to condense and become heavy, that's when they start to manifest into the physical. So it's like a birth, life, and death cycle, or where the physical is actually a form of death. But that's getting a bit deep. But yeah, the physical itself, the physical reality is a form of death. This is why even when you're born into the physical, they say from the moment you're born, you start to deteriorate as you get out of your mother's womb. Because you're actually just dead flesh, just incarnate, and you're maintaining that dead flesh by consuming and eating things of this world. But spiritually, as spirits, you're eternal. You are like eternal, so you don't actually have a life or a death stage. You create things, and then your creations are able to expire and go through life and death, which is like your thought forms, your physical forms. Any form is like a creation, and then you like inhabit that, go within it. It's like a womb that you create to enter into the reality, into the space, or not into the space, into the form. And once you enter into that form will have an expiry date. This is why everything in reality has an expiry date. Even stuff that like can last forever still most likely have an expiry date. But things that don't have an expiry date, they're more closer to the eternal nature of spirit. And those things are usually like valued in this reality too. So when things are closer to the spirit, they're usually held to a higher regard or a higher value because it's eternal. It doesn't have a shape or a form so much. It's more fluid, more shapeless and formless. It's more closer to nothing. And then something that's all part of this reality, that's all part of this world in reality. But yeah, shout out to Dollar to Pilot Man. If you think that any of the stuff that I'm spitting is like somehow really, really intelligent or really, really like, wow, where did he learn this? Dollar to Pilot Man. He's the freaking greatest scientist, YouTuber, teacher, musician, singer, rapper, everything. And yeah, whatever intelligence you think I have is just a smidgen of the intelligence that he has. So I got to give credit where credit is due because I wouldn't know a lot of this stuff without him. Actually, yeah. Anyways, moving back to the topic. So yeah, when it comes to all that, those feminine energies, those feminine natures, those are all tied to the moon and related to the moon as a total like kind of breakdown of the energy in itself. And when you're able to see, okay, the different things that have maybe more or less of a feminine quality to it, then you kind of know what those things might be used for, right? So now that if someone knows that water is like more tied to the feminine, then they know that like if they want to hold on to something, or if they want to help to nurture something and help it to grow, then that's a good opportunity to use some water in within whatever you're trying to help to grow. And really everything has all the elements within it. But these are just like sort of traits that you can emphasize if you were doing like a ritual or a spell or something, then you can use those traits of whatever quality of the material that you have because they have like a spiritual esoteric trait or characteristic. Just like you have a mind and characteristics through your thoughts and feelings. And then whatever those characteristics are, they create like a certain form or energy for it to be experienced, for it to move. And then, yeah, that's how you can help to contain or to grow something or to nurture something, which is where the concept of being a woman and being a mother, that's where those things bent in from to come into this reality, to even exist, for you to even know what a mum is, you know? So this is why it correlates as well. Like a lot of people just think that the spiritual and the physical is somehow separate, but it's like intertwined, like the feminine energy in itself. It's curved, it's more shapeless and formless. And if you can blend that with the external, because we're more in an external base realm, in a masculine type of realm. So you can blend the feminine, the right brain aspect of yourself with the left brain, the logical side of yourself, then you'll be able to see like more aspects of truth rather than getting lost into the masculine, and then you're just looking at everything from a logical perspective, and then that leads people to get confused, and now they're lost and they don't know, and they have to go out and they feel like they have to go learn and like go to other people to get shit, like watching videos on YouTube and making um or manifesting more circumstances where you're kind of in need rather than you're providing or you're provided your needs and you're providing for others and you're able to give, more than rather than be in need and have to take constantly, which is like kind of like when you overindulge into that energy, that can go to vampiric energies. So that's another way of breaking it down too. Like if you overindulge into the receiving feminine aspect of yourself, constantly receiving, constantly taking, intaking, and constantly wanting to go through experiences, then those can turn into like a little bit of a vampiric energy in itself, which can play out in many different ways. You might not be a vampiric energy kind of person in terms of the characteristics that you display, but then like you might have certain qualities of taking and being vampiric, and you might not know where a lot of this stuff comes from. Maybe just simply due to the fact that you are just constantly in your feminine nature. You're constantly wanting to receive. You're constantly wanting to go within and feel or experience, and rather than going out and acting or expressing or thinking, like all of those masculine type of qualities. So you might be just too far into that feminine aspect of yourself, and then and vice versa with the masculine side. Like if you um maybe feel like you are constantly being drained and taken from, and constantly being your energy is constantly being taken from you, and you are constantly having to put your masculine, your actions, your external energy, your logic into situations you don't really want to think about, or you don't really want to do or engage yourself into, then you might be too much of a giver, and you may need to like have more boundaries and put more walls up, instead of constantly being open to everything and stuff like that. So see like how kind of like a double-edged sword there, where you got to have a good blend of both always with everything. This is why as well I always talk about as being so important to meditate. And when I talk about meditation, I'm talking about clearing your thoughts, not pondering on something or imagining something, meditating and clearing your thoughts and clearing your mind. Because if you think every second of the day and you're constantly thinking and feeling, then I personally would say that that's a massive imbalance when you're just not putting any time to not think, to not feel. So it's important to maintain a sense of balance in whatever way you can. Obviously, you can't sit there and just fight off thoughts all day at the start. Maybe later down the line, once you get more adept at it, you're able to go about your day and fight off certain thoughts for a longer period of time. But, starting off, just putting that bit by bit time, you're able to accumulate more of that balance rather than being imbalanced, and the scales is constantly tipping back into the other end, where you're just falling into that masculine state of thinking and feeling, constantly externalizing or pushing out thoughts, or rather than fighting them off. Really, actually, sorry, it's the other way around. If anything, you're receiving thoughts and then pushing out more based on whatever you've just received. But when it comes to the masculine, um, what's it called? The masculine side, it kind of played in a little bit, but I'll kind of just misexplain that in a not so savory way right there, mate. But yeah, that's all good. That's all good. We don't need to worry too much. So, yeah, when it comes to all those kind of energies, that's how you can kind of see where there's balance and where there's imbalances in your life. And it's kind of a template that you might be able to use depending on your ability and level of skill with your mind. You might be able to use that to break out of certain natures, or break out of certain imbalances that you already have, but you probably don't know how to get rid of them, right? So, part of the equation is looking at, okay, well, what's the opposite of this energy that I'm constantly receiving or pushing out? And that's a one possibility of how you can look at it, and you can see how, okay, the opposite of, like, let's say if you're constantly receiving um, certain circumstances and situations that you don't want in your life, or so looking at the opposite. So I like, if you're saying, oh, why am I receiving a whole bunch of circumstances that I don't want in my life, like, another way to look at it, you would look at, okay, well, what am I doing to actually go for the opposite? In a way, are you actually putting out energy of things that you do want in your life, or are you just kind of waiting around and, like, expecting it to come, rather than actually pushing it out and externalizing that energy? So always look at, if you're, like, not receiving something, look at what you're externalizing. If you've already looked at what you're receiving, obviously, and if you're not externalizing anything, maybe look at what you've been receiving, and that might be a tale teller of where you actually need to direct your energy more to bring more balance into that area. So yeah, once you start to see that, and you'll be able to, like, kind of align yourself a lot quicker, I reckon, rather than getting lost into, oh, why do I constantly receive one thing, or why am I constantly pushing out or acting on this one thing? Okay, well, take a moment and see if you've already taken the steps to try and stop what you're receiving, to try and stop how you're acting. Then it may not be how you're acting, it may just be how you're feeling or how you're receiving a certain circumstance, in order for you to act afterwards. Because each action that you do is arguably more just a reaction to anything that you've already seen from the external. We always receive first, we're always in that feminine aspect first, which is why I say we always, everything bends in from the mental to the physical. So when you actually know that with receiving first, everything's subjective then objective, then you can actually be like, oh, well, maybe the reason why I keep acting in a way that I don't actually want to act is because I'm constantly allowing myself to receive or react to a certain circumstance that I know is not beneficial for me. And whether you need to, like, listen the time you experience that circumstance, or whether you just need to constantly shift the way that you react to that circumstance, that'll be your ability to be able to change your actions, because everything's subjective and objective. So, yeah, very, very deep science, mate. If you don't know, then now you know. So you just got to get in the flow. You just got to make sure that you do what you got to do, and then you'll see that everything will be true. But you got to take it serious, and you got to see what's through the other end. But don't worry too much about the future, because that shit is a motherfucking blur. And in actual reality, then you just need to do what's right for you. It's not about what's right as a totality in most cases. Sometimes, it is about what's right as a totality. And you, as a spirit, it's your job to have discernment on when's the right time to do for you and do for others, or act more in your energy, or act more in a relatable kind of energy. And this world, I feel like, forces people to be more relatable, to be more, like, reserved, to be less, like, kind of, how do I say, to be less daring and more connecting or relatable, in a sense where, like, they're still being external and masculine, but it's a certain level of people pleasing that is encouraged in a world like this, because a lot of people are, caught up into the law, the governmental system, which already puts a certain program or a certain way of thinking about certain crimes, certain aspects of life, without taking into account the space, the feminine aspect, which is the um, arguably, it's like a government, because that, like, a government, it governs over people. It's like a tied to that feminine kind of energy of containing or holding something, right? If anything, it's more like a cage, which is still tied to that feminine energy, because it's a container. So really, they just use these kind of containers, these feminine containers to hold your guy's mind into a certain shape or form, which is like freaking messed up because you have that ability to contain and to help nurture and grow anything that you want. But when it's in the container or within the container of the government and the world that we're in, people feel limited. People feel like they're in a cage and they can't express or act on certain things. And that's also tied to soul ties as well, which is like based on experiences you've shared with people, amount of time you've accumulated with them, and how your energy and auras have like kind of intertwined and twisted and turned together, which has just made um, some people have more soul ties than others. And, you know, that's a whole thing that people will learn in their own time. But when it comes to soul ties, those can be a big way of holding people back, where they'll stop you from acting or doing things in a certain way because of how you might be seen or how a certain person in your life might react. And this world is like low-key built off shit like that. Like if you have a job, you can't help to make certain soul ties, because if you weren't to make certain soul ties, you would probably get fired, right? So, but it's important to know these things, because if you're out in the world living this life, you need to know what actually spiritually is going on when you're thinking or feeling in a certain way. So this is why people talk about like intuition and all that kind of shit. You actually have heaps of intuitions. Every Pretty much every ability that you can use to receive has an intuition or is able to hold and externalize, receiving and externalizing, because each of your chakras really does both. You know, you can push out something from your root chakra and you can receive something from your root chakra, so on and so forth. Go do that for every single chakra, because I'm not about to sit here and say that other chakras. But yeah, you have intuitions for every single chakra. So as well, it's not always about like your feelings intuition, your moon's intuition. It's sometimes also about, you know, your throat intuition, your third eye's intuition, and so on and so forth. There's many intuitions. Like your third eye or your first eye, really, it's not your third eye. Your first eye is like how you realize and interpret the world around you. If you're not using your first eye intuition, arguably, I would say that like kind of puts you at a hindrance for a lot of your other intuitions. I keep getting My mind keeps thinking if I turn this way, it's going to turn that way. That's why you keep seeing me doing that. So when it comes to your first eye, if that intuition's not running sufficiently, arguably a lot of your other intuitions aren't going to be running sufficiently either. You may think they are, but your first eye is your ability to realize, like your ability to see reality from its truest space. Because these two eyes, they just perceive the physical, right? But your first eye is your ability to actually realize what's going on. That's why they call it your real eye, some people. And if your first eye is blocked, you're not going to be realizing a lot of shit. You're not going to be seeing a lot of shit. You're not going to be able to intuit or interpret a lot of things that's going on around you. And so that's not to say like go out and do like some kind of first eye awakening type shit. You just need to practice, and there's a few different practices as well that you can do to heal that as well, like certain healing practices, putting like everything condenses from your thoughts and your feelings, really. So if you're putting thoughts and feelings into something, then you're utilizing that chakra of whatever those thoughts or feelings are tied to. So if you're realizing a whole bunch of stuff, you know you're in your third eye. You know what I mean? If you're feeling stable or feeling scared about something or unstable about something, then you know you're in your root chakra. You know, if you're feeling like proud or feeling like creative about something, then you're probably in your sacral or your solar plexus area. So that's how you can tell which energies you're utilizing at what time. And then when you add like certain rituals and spells to that, you can lead you to healing and unblocking those certain chakras, depending on. There's many different ways, but if you want to check out more, I'll highly recommend Dolo Department. He talks a lot about different techniques like this, and I'll probably break it down as well myself. No, I'm just thinking to myself, I don't want to break it down right now because I want to make sure that I've written down everything about it before I actually start to break down something. Because sometimes I've done that in the past and then I've gone back and been like, oh, I missed that part. So I don't like to miss shit. I don't like to misinterpret or misconstrue anything. But then again, what I'm thinking about is pretty straightforward. But it was basically this ritual or spell that was like Dola was saying, you go by running water, and you close your eyes and kind of put yourself into a space where you're like not fully affected by your emotional state, or like let's say if you want to heal your chakra, right, heart chakra, you kind of bring yourself to a more balanced emotional state above like any heavy emotions, and like don't also put yourself too high into too many high excited emotions. Kind of keep yourself in a middle ground and put more thoughts and feelings into that space, and be by running water, like in a shower, a bath, or something like that, and then like spend time putting thoughts and feelings into whatever. Like this example would be the heart chakra. Then once you put more thoughts and feelings into that, then you'll be able to, like, you're accumulating more energy and more momentum for that chakra for it to start spinning, right? And then the water is helping you to like wash away any of the old thoughts, because water is cleansing, and it's helping you to wash away and get more flow, more fluidity to that chakra, so it's able to flow, be more fluid. And then once you've put enough thoughts and feelings into that, or time and energy, you go outside and you do like an atmosphere dance. So dance how you think that the atmosphere would move, or just kind of do movements that you think that the atmosphere would move in, like how you think it would, as in your own personal subjective point of view, or how maybe possibly the atmosphere might move, whatever way works for you. But the important thing is that that's how you think the atmosphere moves, and you're acting in that way. So you're like kind of doing animism, Dola would say, which is a Native American practice. Always be conscious and aware of the original how do I say it? The original template or person or space or spirit that actually enacted that practice of whatever you're doing, because otherwise you're just like, that's like copying kind of energies. Got to give credence where credence is due.
That's on that.
I'm on live. No, who cares? That's good. It's a lesson for me to stop caring, because like the whole point of this live and the lives that I do as well is to not worry about doing things in a certain way, because those are stuff of the world as well. So the more free and the more creative and expressive you are, that's also important too when it comes to my lives and my videos that I do, because that's more true to your spirit. It's more free and closer to nothing, rather than getting stuck and lost into a form or a way of being. So that's why I also see stuff like that as like a really, really good teaching moment as well. But when it gets overboard, that's when you have to set up boundaries, obviously. But when it's talking about like just little stuff like that, that's why I like to do lives too, because I don't like to. I know I'm going to sit there and probably edit out a whole bunch of shit if I was to film it. And I'll be like overthinking, oh, should I edit out that part or shouldn't I edit out that part? Which, don't get me wrong, those can be beneficial stuff too, if you like to do that. But my goal at the moment is I'm pushing myself to kind of free myself from those kind of forms, free myself from those kind of spaces and energies. So when my sister come and like says stuff like that, it's just an opportunity for me to be like, no, I need to free myself from that mental cage of thinking that I need my lives to be so prim and proper. You know what I mean? So yeah. But also that kind of distracted me too. So that's where I also need to have that spiritual equilibrium and know that that was actually a bit of a distraction as well. And that kind of led me astray when what kind of topic I was talking about in the first place. So yeah. But yeah, everything can be seen as a learning lesson when you really look at it. The light is getting a bit dim for me, mate. Oh, that's actually more comfortable too. So when it comes to these kind of spices that you be talking about, you be going down. I don't want to get that TV in there because who cares about the television and the time? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Can the camera just like, yeah. 01. Oh, I like that. I like that. 0110. That's my life path one. And a power number that I can use to manifest is 10, which is actually up there in the form of 01. So, but I don't really, we're going to pretend it's 10. So, yeah, I'm trying to get back to the topic at hand that I was talking about. Anywho, it's all good. I was talking about feminine natures and I was talking about how everything bends in from the physical. I know that. Broke down a whole bunch of shit about the space that you're in, right? The thoughts and feelings that you'll begin to accumulate and start to manifest based on your space and based on what kind of mentality you're actually creating. Those will all bend into your physical. So, really, it's not even about what you do, it's about how you do it. You know, what kind of space are you in before you do that action? And that'll determine your outcome more often than not, unless it's like some kind of falsely created algorithm, internet, man-made machine type shit, in which case, you know, those machines like are still man-made at the end of the day. So they have intentions, motives behind it. It's not related to a natural mechanism that I'm breaking down, which is that everything bends in from the mental to the physical. um if you're talking about algorithms and stuff like that, that's more tied to masculine manipulation, manly, masons, those kind of energies. So we're not getting into that too deeply when it comes to everything bending in from the physical. Always know if you're on an algorithm or it's an online type shit, there is some kind of manipulation, some kind of man made aspect to it. But if you also know intuitively, if you're in tune with certain things, then you'll be able to bypass that and utilize the internet. Like, for example, if you are thinking a certain thing already and then like you just happen to scroll or come upon something on the internet that is like in line with whatever you were thinking and you haven't actually said that, you know, that could be a sign or a synchronicity. But like if we're talking like you're just scrolling on TikTok and you're just seeing a whole bunch of videos and then you're trying to make that shit fit because you've watched a million videos already on relationships, you've watched a million videos already on the person that's talking about you behind your back, but the algorithm on TikTok already knows that you watch videos like that and that already knows that that's what pulls you in. So you got to have spiritual discernment and know when it's a man-made algorithm and when it's actually a spiritual synchronicity. And more often than not, it'll happen in your real life rather than online. You'll be able to see a lot more synchronicities in your real life rather than when you're scrolling on TikTok. So it's always important to go out into the world first and then do your spiritual readings and stuff like that, because a reading is based on what you've already experienced and gone through. It's not about, usually it's not about what you're going to experience or going to go through, unless, you know, that's the reading, that specific reading that you're getting. And in which case, you'll be able to know based on the synchronicities that's going on in your life already anyway, because there will be like a certain card that already kind of ties into whatever experiences you've been having, and then those will kind of snowball and lead into the whatever future reading you might be getting or whatever future prediction you might be getting, which is yeah, you'll know as the intuitive, as a spiritual guru of your own, and remember always that you are your own spiritual guru. And if you're lost, you just need to remember what aspects of yourself are truly your own spiritual guru. So I wouldn't obviously advise to just trust everything you say. Obviously, if you know yourself, that's another way of you being your spiritual guru. Because if you know, actually, you're not in a right mental space for you to be developing certain decisions or to be just making certain decisions in general. If you know that you're not the type of person to make wise decisions when it comes to your money, then that's you as being your own spiritual guru, not letting yourself make certain financial decisions. And maybe you have someone in your life that will make better financial decisions for you. And so they might be able to help you in those certain situations if need be. So that's you again being your own spiritual guru and taking yourself back and realizing, okay, actually, no, I know I can't handle this and I might need some assistance in this area. So even in that space where you'll be like, oh no, I'm not my own spiritual guru because I'm not XYZ, or I can't manage my money in a certain aspect. But really just you having that ability to know that you can't manage your money in a certain aspect, that's you tapping into your own inner spiritual guru. I fucking hate that word, but it's just an example I'm trying to use of a way to show you what kind of space you can put yourself in by using these certain mind states, because those are all they are. They're just forms and vehicles that you can jump into, right? And the more, if you're able to catch on and grab one of these forms and vehicles, then you're able to use it in whatever way that you can to manifest the outcomes that you want. But if you just stay stuck into a certain form, maybe you've got the same form that you keep jumping into. And then when I come across with my forms that I'm pushing out here, which is really gold, like shit like this, if you know how to use it, then you'll be able to take yourself to many different spaces with it. But it just depends on the individual spirit, how you utilize your vehicles, or whether or not you let your vehicles utilize you. And this is when people get into more situations where they feel like the situation is happening to them rather than through them, because at the end of the day, everything is happening through you, not to you or for you. You're manifesting every single second, okay? Miss Thing, but I'm not here to wake anyone up. I'm just here to remind you what you already know. So if you come across this video in the first place, then you already know this. This is just more of a confirmation on what you already been thinking on your day-to-day life and your travels. So that's it. That's all. Really, at the end of the day, you already know. You already know what's about to condense and fall into your reality. All right, what's about to externalize from your moon to your to your external. But yeah, that's pretty much how you can look at certain things and certain aspects if you're able to kind of catch my drift on what I'm saying. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'll be sitting here, I'm like, am I just saying a whole lot of bullshit, right? But like, really, no, this is freaking gold. I know it. I know it because I'll be looking back and then I'm like, wow, that is some real like powerful shit right there. Like that's some real good wisdom. And then, but at the time I might have been doubting myself. I might have been thinking, oh no, what am I saying? And is anyone even going to know what I'm talking about? No, the right people are going to know at the end of the day. And those who don't know, that it wasn't for them. It wasn't for them. Maybe the next video might be, but this one possibly not. So, and that's no downfall, no positive, negative. At the end of the day, it is what it is. So I just see it like that and I just move on. That's why I don't delete my videos. I don't even really like to delete anything. It's more for me. I like to do certain like to hold memories, you know, like tying back to that feminine energy, that moon card over there. I like to hold memories. I like to contain them. But if the memory is not one that I'd like to hold, obviously that's a different story. So when it comes to videos and stuff, if I was to delete videos, that's me like deleting a memory, removing a memory, and I don't like that shit. So yeah. Don't know why I'm talking about myself like that. It's not like anybody really cares. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think this is a good place to end the video. I'll probably jump on again tonight, and if I don't, then I'll see you whenever I jump on next. So peace, enjoy, later, tomatoes. That came to my mind because my sister's my nephew's been watching freaking Cars. It's like his favorite show, so it's been on and on and on. So tomatoes just on my mind like that. He's just chilling there, doing his rear view cartwheel, back mirror, reverse type thing, tapping me into that tomato energy. Yeah, so peace, laters, tomatoes.